In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to look for when buying a TV to watch sport. Whether you're a football fan, or a football fan. This video will give you an idea of what TV to get to give you the best sport experience. And now the English Premier League is back. And to celebrate this momentous occasion, I will be giving you my tips so you can get the best TV for your money that will give you a great experience watching sports. So before I go any further, comment down below what sports you're going to be watching on your TV. And if you're up for a fight, what team do you support? For me, it's football, proper British football. And as a Spurs fan, it's going to be a good year. I mean, it's looking like it could be. So really, we have to start with a few important things. How your TV handles motion, SDR brightness, viewing angles, and screen uniformity. So a TV needs to handle motion well to avoid things like blurring, ghosting, and juddering. Your SDR brightness, or not HDR brightness, is important because most sport is SDR, and if you're watching sport, a lot of the time it tends to be during the day when it's bright, so you need your TV to be able to avoid things like reflections and stuff like that. Now, if you tend to have quite a few people with you when you're watching sports, something like viewing angles might be quite important because you want the people who are sat on the edge of the room to still get the same experience as someone who's sat directly in the middle. And screen uniformity is a massive one because a lot of sport has a lot of panning shots. So if you have a lot of DSE, dirty screen effect, and you're panning across like this solid colours, it's going to look terrible and be quite distracting. So we'll get right into my recommendations. First of all, at the top of the heap, I have to say it's going to be an OLED TV. Now, aside from excellent picture quality and infinite contrast ratio, OLED TVs actually have a fantastic, almost instantaneous response time. They tend to be able to handle motion very well, and when it comes to screen uniformity, well, they are unrivaled. The only real kicker is brightness and reflections. So when you're in a bright room, you can find most OLEDs can be quite dim, and also they tend to not handle reflections very well. So if there's any sort of obvious light sources in the rooms, like lamps or windows, I mean, that's pretty much going to be a no-go, and you're going to miss what's happening on the screen. Now, there is also the fact that OLEDs are significantly more expensive than the LCD counterparts. Now, to get past that brightness issue, it might be worth looking at the new QD-OLEDs on the market. These maintain the fantastic picture quality and response time of normal OLEDs, and in fact might even have a better picture quality than most OLEDs. But they can also get brighter and they handle reflections better. I've recently had the S95B QD-OLED, and I've got to say, in terms of reflection handling, it's better than my Sony X90J that I have, and that is an LED TV. So there you go. Now, the problem with QD-OLED is that it is the most expensive option. It's the top of the OLED option. So that is going to be an issue for some people. So today, if you're looking for an OLED that is going to be a little bit cheaper but still have a lot of these good benefits and features, I'd probably recommend the LG C1. Now, that is LG's sort of most popular OLED from last year, and it boasts so many amazing features. It's also fantastic for movies and gaming, but because it is last year's model, you can find them pretty cheap. And I'll also go and stick some links in the description if you want to check out the latest prices. Now, if an OLED is out of budget, then you're going to want an LED TV, and you sort of have two panel types to choose from. You can either go for an IPS or a VA panel type. For example, Samsung's and LG's mini LED TVs are IPS panel types, and Sony's mini LED TV is a VA panel type. Now, you're probably going to get a better picture sat directly in front of the TV from the Sony. However, viewing angles on the Sony are going to be nowhere near as good as the other two because VA panels tend to look better and have worse viewing angles. IPS tends to be better viewing angles, but not quite be as good looking. Now, ultimately, when you're at this sort of high-end level TV of mini LED, they do all look very, very good. So the differences at this point are minimal. But when you go down, you look at some of the sort of cheaper TVs, that panel type probably will make quite a considerable difference in both of those aspects. Now, there is a big scale in terms of budgets. You can go for a mini LED, which is sort of the higher end of the LED chart. Now, that is going to offer a fantastic picture and is going to be really impressive for anyone after a bright TV. You tend to get an SDR brightness comfortably over 1,000 nits. And then with great contrast and minimal blooming, it's the next best thing from OLED at the moment. Now, screen uniformity is an issue with mini LED TVs, and I mean, it's an issue with all LED TVs. Also, it tends to vary quite a lot unit to unit. Now, I've had a look at two identical TVs, same model, same year, everything. However, one of them has had a slightly worse panel than the other one. One could be almost clear in terms of dirty screen effect, it could be a completely uniform panel, and the next one could have really bad dirty screen effect. So it is a bit of a lottery, and you tend to not know until you get it out of the box. Now, this doesn't really change depending on the price. I've had TVs £300-400 that have had a clearer panel than one's 5 times the price. Now, to get decent motion, you want a TV with low response time. Otherwise, you might get this effect of ghosting, where you can almost have either a duplication or like this trail following a football as it's moving across the TV. Also, if you're watching a sport that does a lot of panning, maybe from one side of the pitch to the other, then you're going to want a TV that can handle juddering fairly well. Now, you may not get a lot of juddering in America because you tend to watch things at 30 FPS, and that is quite easy to fit into a 60Hz TV. But in the UK, we watch all of our stuff at 25 FPS, which it's ridiculous. I don't understand it either. Also, if you get a TV that is 120 Hz, that will be marginally better than a TV that is 60 Hz. Now, I haven't really given you that many TV recommendations because I think there's so many aspects that go into what TV you're going to buy. I mean, ultimately, a lot of things are down to personal preference, things like operating system and stuff like that. And a lot of people use their TV for a lot more than just sport. So really, I'm just giving you the things that I think you need to look out for when you're looking and shopping for a TV. So I would say the first choice is OLED. Probably the best value for sport would be the LG C1. However, the brightness is dim, and opposite any sort of light source like a window or a lamp, it's a no-go. If the brightness puts you off, you can either go up to a QD-OLED. But now, if that prices you out of the market, here are the things you need to consider if buying an LED TV. So IPS panel versus VA panel. If you're wanting a lot of people watching the TV in a large room, probably the best way to go would be for an IPS panel because you get better viewing angles and it maintains brightness and color at wider angles. Next is the response time of the TV. Again, OLED wins this by a mile with a response time like 0.2 milliseconds or something. But if you're not going to be going for an OLED, ideally you don't want anything more than about 20 milliseconds. So for example, the Samsung QN85A has an 80% response time of about 5 milliseconds, which is actually really, really good. So guys, if you are looking at a particular TV, what I would recommend you do is go to the website ratings.com or artings.com. There they review tons of TVs and they put all of their results, proper test results, on their page. So you can check all of the things that I've just spoken about, and you can make sure that whatever TV you have decided to buy is going to be good for sport. So guys, now I hope you go and buy a fantastic TV so that you can watch Tottenham go out and destroy the Premier League this season. I mean, we can get at least third. Come on, it's Antonio Conte. We could win it.